Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. And a little bit later on the program, we're going to be talking with the Director of Veteran Engagement at the Veterans One Stop Center in Buffalo, Dan Arnold, and Nicole Dabby, Steuben County's one-stop peer-to-peer specialist. So if you are a veteran, you're definitely going to want to watch this interview. That's coming up in just a little bit. Also, we got a lot to cover. As always, you can contact me. I'm going to go through some emails that I received, emails and texts from over the weekend. Thank you so much for reaching out. We're going to go through those in just a little bit. We've got an exciting lineup on the program tomorrow as well. We're going to be talking with Luke Kelly and Chase Bailey. They are both fighting each other at the L on Saturday in MMA. And that's going to be a fun one. So tomorrow is fight morning here on Frankly Speaking, so do not miss that. All right, let's go to a couple of our emails and texts from over the weekend. Let's see if I can do this properly. Hopefully I can. Let's give it a shot. First up, a group of out-of-touch Democrats ignored our Constitution, arrested a former president during an election year, let millions cross our borders unvetted, destroyed our energy independence, focused more on who they hate instead of who they serve. We can let them off the hook, or next year, when they are on the ballot, hold them accountable for the people. Register to vote, volunteer, run for office, chip in to help fight back. Now, if the current regime doesn't care about over 600,000 abortion deaths each year in the U.S., what makes you think they care about you? I would always say, no matter what your political affiliation, register to vote, absolutely. Volunteer, run for office. So that's why we have Joe Sempolinski on the program so frequently, not just because he's a former congressman, but also because he is the leader of the Steuben County Republican Committee, and we always ask how we can get involved. And I would say, run for office. If you're so inclined, you can always reach out to me and I can get you in touch with the right people. Or you can always just call the Board of Elections as well to find out how you do that. But yeah, if you're not registered to vote, well, the old cliche, if you don't vote, you can't complain, but it is very, very true. So thank you for that text. The next text, if I can get to it here, let's see. This independent woman will now give my vote to the Republican Party. I cannot believe what hypocrites the liberal media and People's Republic of the Democrat Party are shoving down our throats. The American people are not as dumb as they're making us out to be. I hope they remember things like this usually backfire on the ones that do evil things. Have you thought about talking to Mike Huckabee? He had Robert Kennedy on his show, and it was eye-opening. Keep up the good work. You are a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say. I have not really thought about having Mr. Huckabee on the program, but I would love to have him on. So I'll, if I think of it, I will reach out, see if I can contact him. It may be difficult because I know he's got a TV show himself. I also want to reach out to Robert Kennedy. I don't know how to do that. I'd love to have him on the program as well. We're going to talk a little bit about the presidential race. Some interesting things on the Democrat side as Bernie heads to New Hampshire. Could he be giving it another go? A lot of speculation swirling there. And then Gavin Newsom debating Ron DeSantis has made the White House, the administration, very upset, looking as if he's running a shadow campaign. We're going to talk about that as well. Also, weirdly enough, a couple updates here on COVID when we come back. First, since you mentioned Mike Huckabee, and I like that suggestion, sad news here. What did I do with it? Hold on, let me grab my paperwork. I just learned, and this is and the reason why I mentioned Mike Huckabee, I interviewed this man, a long time ago, on my radio program, Joe Wurzelbacher. You may know him as Joe the Plumber. Remember Joe the Plumber? He has passed away at 49 years old from pancreatic cancer. Joe Wurzelbacher, whom Americans would remember as Joe the Plumber from the 2008 presidential election, died on Sunday at the age of 49 years old. The news broke on Twitter late yesterday. Horrible news. My good friend Joe Wurzelbacher, a.k.a. Joe the Plumber, passed away this morning at the age of 49 from pancreatic cancer. He was a good man and an exceptional friend. Please consider helping his widow and young children. And then columnist Derek Hunter shared a Give, Send, Go link. Boy, this is sad. It said he was diagnosed with stage 3 pancreatic cancer earlier this year after experiencing severe stomach pains over the Christmas holiday. They put him in the emergency room. So sad news. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. A very important part of that election. That's why I wanted to interview him in the past, because he had so much to say. It was really just innocent how it all started. Just asking that question to Barack Obama at a political type event, and the media attacked him because it made Barack Obama sound as if he was pushing socialism, if you recall, and there was a lot of controversy over that. But I was shocked to hear, so young, 49 years old, passing away, Joe the plumber. All right, let's take a short break. We've got more to talk about. Then we're going to hear from our friends Dan Arnold and Nicole Dabby in just a little bit. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking. We're just getting started here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Aiken. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I saw this article this morning coming from the Daily Mail, and it's very interesting because it was about a piece that was published that you may not be aware of over at the NIH, the National Institute of Health. They found the N95 COVID masks. You remember, they were the gold standard of masks at a time, if you recall, if you've been following the news, they're pushing, and we're going to get to that in just a moment, pushing more kind of lockdowns and pushing for mask usage again. Well, they found the N95 COVID masks may expose the wearer to dangerous levels of toxic compounds linked to seizures and cancer. It was quietly reshared by the National Institute of Health in the spring, and it suggests a tight-fitting mask may expose users to dangerous levels of toxic chemicals. This is research done in South Korea. They looked at 2 types of disposable medical-grade masks, as well as several reusable cotton masks. The study found that chemicals released by these masks had 8 times the recommended safety limit of toxic, volatile organic compounds. Inhaling these have been linked to health issues like headaches and nausea, while prolonged and repeated have even been linked to organ damage and even cancer. It makes sense. I know a lot of people were saying that they received is a weird way of putting that, but had headaches, felt sick wearing those. And that ties in with this piece from the New York Post. COVID mania just won't go away. The deadly strains of the virus has been gone for 2 years now, and yet the recent outbreak of a mild flu-like variant is again stoking panic on the left and by the left-leaning media outlets. Nearly 100 universities are requiring masks this fall. I knew that I think we talked about it last week, but I knew there were some universities that were demanding that you wear a mask. I didn't know it was up to 100. Wow. Lionsgate Movie Studio in Los Angeles and Atlanta-based Morris Brown College just stated they are reinstating not just mask mandates, but social distancing measures and contact tracing as well. Wow, this is a blast from the past. CNN, which led the panic in 2020 and 2021, causing school, restaurant, business shutdowns, vaccine mandates. They recently put out a headline on its website that encouraged its readers not to go outside without a mask on. The latest evidence finds this is less dangerous than the normal flu virus, and tracking data suggests that the wave may have already peaked. Even more disturbing is that the leftist medical community and media aren't renouncing their calls for mitigation strategies that were catastrophically wrong in the panic era of 2020 and 2021, but instead calling for more of these assaults on freedom down the road. It's one thing for well-meaning medical experts to disagree about how to best combat a once-in-a-half-century deadly virus. We didn't know exactly what we were dealing with at the time, says the Post, but now we know with concrete scientific evidence that most of the mandates and lockdowns had very small impact on the spread of the virus and on fatalities. It turns out There's almost no difference in death rates in states with strict lockdowns and those with no lockdowns at all. Cross-country evidence also suggests masks had very little impact. Healthy children were never at risk from COVID, something we learned very early on. So shutting down schools for 1 or 2 years was a horrible idea. Also, it was basically just a carve-out to the teachers' unions. But it was a disaster for our kids. Test scores are the worst in 30 years. Another example of the continuing damage from school lockdowns. Before the pandemic, only 15% of public school students were chronically absent. That is more than 18 or more days a year. Today, Stanford University education professor Thomas Dee's data finds an estimated 6.5 million additional students are now chronically absent. In some states, absenteeism has doubled. But polls show that Democrats, even those who are highly educated, generally still support the lockdowns that were mandated. These are the same people who lectured us about following the science. So this is a very interesting. Will you wear a mask again? If they tell you it's back to masks, back to lockdowns, social distancing, all of that. I know I've heard from some people that have been preemptive on this and already saying, no, I'm not going to wear the mask. But I'm sure many of you, if it is suggested, will. So let me know. Contact me. We do have to take a short break, but I thought that was interesting because it's skyrocketed. Over 100 universities, mask mandates. And you're starting to see more and more as people are walking down the street. It's becoming commonplace yet again. So let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. When we are back, we'll be talking with Dan Arnold and Nicole Dabby. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is the M.A. Neal Financial Services section of our program, and I'd like to welcome our guests, and I thought you could start by introducing yourselves and telling us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, hi, my name is Dan Arnold. I'm the Director of Veteran Engagement at the Veterans One Stop Center. I'm actually a veteran myself, 23 years in the Air Force. I retired, loved every minute of it, and I'm just proud to be able to give back to my community that really developed who I am today, working in the veteran community.
Then Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Dabby. I'm the peer support specialist here in Steuben County for the Joseph P. Dwyer program, and I am also a veteran. I was in the New York Air National Guard for almost 10 years, and I am also glad to be giving back to my community.
Seeing as you're both veterans, does that make this even more personal, do you think?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Just working in this organization, it changed my life completely. When I got out of the service, my quality of life was going downhill. And then I got into working in a veteran community again, after being in that community for 30-something years of my life. It just changed everything, and having that pride and that experience and being a veteran, in peer support world is huge. So it makes a huge difference.
And I want to talk about peer support because I've talked in the past about it on the program. How important is peer support for returning veterans, and what kind of reaction have you received with your time doing the peer support?
In my experience, I've been doing peer support for 3 years now.
Okay.
For veterans. And I've seen a huge difference in veterans. Like I said, I saw it in myself, but more importantly, I saw it in the veterans that were coming out to our events. Yeah. For example, there was this one gentleman who was very subdued, he was just into himself. He just wasn't doing anything, wasn't talking very much to anybody. Came to a couple events, very shy and set back. And, not even a year later, he's one of our top peer mentors that helps us talk with other veterans and work with other veterans. And it's just amazing seeing that growth. And just one more quick example was I had a spouse of a veteran approach me at one point, in tears, because she felt that what we were doing and getting her husband out of his house and out of his, toxic environments just changed his life. And it was just a great moment. And those are why we do what we do.
This job must be so rewarding and stressful, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does get stressful. You do have people, veterans who come up and they have issues that we're not always prepared for.
Sure.
We're not counselors. We're not clinical in any way. We're just a peer. And there's times that it does get stressful and we don't know what to do, and we have to actually reach out to get somebody more in the clinical setting or in the therapeutic setting to help them. And it does stress you out because they're a brother and sister to us, and the feelings are there and the stress becomes there when they're not getting the help they need because I can't give it to them. And it affects us personally. I'm sure Nicole can speak of that too.
Go ahead, Nicole, if you'd like to add on.
I was at the Steuben County Fair
Yeah.
this weekend, trying to get the word out about our program, and a young veteran actually came up to me and said, where were you? Where were you 3 years ago when I got out of the military? I've been looking for a program like this, and now we look forward to including them in our program.
That's amazing. And I think the stories are so touching when you hear about it. Could you explain, though, if someone's just tuning in, what is peer-to-peer support? What does that look like for someone that isn't familiar with it? Ethan.
Peer-to-peer support, it's basically a veteran talking, being there for another veteran. We really pressure that. I mean, we do have other people who in the community who want to help with veterans, and that's awesome. But peer-to-peer is really two veterans talking with each other and helping each other. And the way we do it in our organization is we don't do support groups. We don't just sit around a circle. We do events where we're doing something, and it makes the atmosphere a lot more safe feeling, more comfortable feeling, and people open up more and talk. And then relationships are created between the peers. And that's when the bonding and everything just really, the magic, I guess I'll say, really happens at that point.
Because it seems like, this is obviously a tough topic to discuss. So if you have someone who's been through something similar, it's got to open a lot of doors that you wouldn't normally have open.
Oh, emotionally?
Yes.
You're talking? Yes, definitely.
Yes.
The old stigma of veterans always keeping everything in, and that's true to a point. And we keep it in, we take care of ourselves. We don't ask for help. That's always been the stigma with veterans. But when we get to that point and that relationship is created in that peer environment, and they do open up and ask for help, that's when things really get started.
Yeah. And I'm glad you used the word stigma, because I've talked about this in the past on the program. How do you erase that stigma? That must be probably one of the biggest hurdles of your job, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And for me, getting rid of that stigma is creating that relationship and the trust with my other veteran peer, to trust in me that I'm there for them. And that's really it, and not to be afraid to talk. And it takes a little time to get to that point. It really does. The relationship has to be created, and the trust has to be built. The good thing is we start off because we're peers and we have similar situations and similar experiences, that it makes it a little bit easier to create that and quicker to create that.
Sure.
But once that's created, the stigma to me goes away.
Wow. That's great. It's amazing work that you're doing. What would you tell someone that's maybe on the fence over this or just learning about it for the first time? What recommendation would you give them?
Come out to an event.
Yeah.
Come out and meet us. That's the biggest thing. So many people, like in my area where I live, and I'm sure in Steuben County, we're brand new in there. It's a very rural area, and people probably aren't getting the word out. Hopefully this helps. But try us. Yeah. Give us a shot. We're here for the veterans. And that's why Nicole is there in the community, providing this service for these veterans. Come meet her. As a matter of fact, she could talk about what's coming up real soon here.
Yeah, Nicole, I know you have a lot. And by the way, it was nice to meet you at the Steuben County Fair. Before we ask about the upcoming events, how did the fair go? How was it received?
Well, I thought that it was received very well.
Okay.
A lot of veterans came over to my table. They wanted to hear about the Joseph P. Dwyer Peer Support Program. A lot of veterans were saying, "Yeah, we're interested. We want to be a part of this program." So I thought that it was very encouraging. It was good to see you too at the fair
Well,
as well.
it was great. I was so glad to chat with you guys for a while because I know this is such an amazing program and it's going to help so many people. That's why we're trying to spread the word. So you mentioned upcoming events. Could you tell us a little bit about the one on August 30th?
Oh, yes. Okay. So that is my kickoff dinner. It's going to be at the Chatawile.
Oh, great.
And that is at
Let's see. 28 Liberty Street is where Chatawale's at,
28
of course.
Liberty Street.
Mhm.
Yes. And that's at 6 p.m.
Okay.
Please RSVP by either emailing me or
Oh, and I could put that.
or calling me.
Yes, and I'll put that up on the screen at the end of the interview so people can write it down. Does that sound okay?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. And that's for
And
veteran
then
and a
also-
guest, right? So a veteran and a guest?
Yes.
Okay.
Veteran and guest.
Okay. Okay. Great.
And also we have our 12 county veteran and family picnic.
Oh, that's great.
It's on September 2nd from 1 to 6 p.m. at the National Warplane Museum. You can RSVP on the website, which is www.vocwny.org, or by calling 716-898-0110.
Great. Those are two great events for people that are just learning about this to, just come and have a conversation. Like you said earlier, just have the conversation, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Come on out. We're happy to tell you about the program, tell you about upcoming events, and we're happy to include you in them.
Great. And when you mentioned the peer-to-peer support, how frequent is that? Because you said you don't want to just sit around in a circle and chat. How often, and I know it's new, so I don't know if you have an answer for this, but how often are there events?
Well, what I can say on that is, yes, it is new here in Steuben County, but
Right.
and Livingston and Yates County, which are close counties to
Right.
y'all, those are new programs also. We started just about a year ago.
Okay.
They're doing 5 to 6 events a month.
Oh, wow.
Where veterans get to come out, and we're hoping to get Steuben County to that point also. Nicole's hitting the ground running. She's doing an awesome job for the county, and she's already started with the kickoff dinner. Then I know she has something else planned already in September also. So we're hoping to get around to that area. We're hoping to get into the arts, get into art projects, maybe some hikes, some dinners, whatever else is out in the community and whatever else the veterans would like to do. That's the other part of coming to talk to us at these events is let us know what you're into.
Okay.
Maybe that'd be something that we can help get other veterans out too, and maybe put on some type of event.
Now, Nicole, this is your first big event. How's the planning going?
I think it's going great.
Good. Good. Well, good. Everybody
It's
should
going
sign up.
great. Pardon me?
I said everybody should sign up and RSVP to make it easier on you.
Yes, absolutely.
Just before we go, and Dan, we were talking off the air about this. Steuben County has a lot of other resources for our veterans as well. I know we've been talking about peer-to-peer, but I thought maybe you could highlight a few others for those tuning in.
Like I was talking about with ours, we have emergency housing assistance for the county.
Okay.
I always say there should be no reason a veteran should be homeless.
Right.
There's services out there, there's resources out there for that. The suicide prevention program is another great program to get veterans out of their isolation, out of those toxic environments, and there's resources to help them get out of those environments.
Right.
That's what's great about that program. And then the other resources, there's always the VSO office with Gary Smith out there.
Oh, yeah.
He does a job. And we are actually going to be coming out to Bath. We're in the process right now of planning it sometime in October to hold a pretty good size veteran resource fair.
Oh, okay, great.
Which will display hopefully 20 to 30 other resources that are in the area for the veterans in that county, in
Well,
Steuben County.
Well, and I hope when the Veterans Fair is planned and everything's set in stone, I'm sure Gary will let me know, but I definitely want to promote
yes.
that. I definitely want to promote that, and I'd love to have Gary back on the program, and I want to thank him as well for helping set this up. It's funny, when we were at the fair, we were setting this up, we didn't realize we were 2 booths away from each other.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so I'm emailing him, and he's emailing me, and I look over, and there he is. We're emailing each other. But he does such an amazing job, just like you guys. So where can people find out more just before we go?
To find out more about our organization is the website,
Okay.
www.vocwny.org. We're revamping our website. It's going to have a lot more in-depth details on it, but it does have all of our events that are listed if you go to the events page. And the great thing is, especially with Steuben, they sort of border Livingston and Yates, where also we run programs. Steuben counties are welcome to come to those other counties too.
That's great.
To come out. So don't be afraid to cross the counties. We run them, and we're glad to have them. We'll never turn a veteran away. Now, there may be a space issue with some events.
Sure.
That's just a reality. But we will do everything we can to get you in. And if you want to join us, please do so at our website.
And Nicole, just before we go, if someone wants to talk to you about peer-to-peer support, and maybe they can't make the dinner, or they just, they want to find out maybe before the dinner, should they just contact you at the same place they RSVP?
Correct. Yes. My phone number is 716-313-2934, and my email address is ndabby@vocwny.com.
Okay, great. And I'll put that .org. Yeah, .org, and I'll put that up at the end of it so everybody can have time to write it down. So I really appreciate you taking so much time out of your schedule to be on the program this morning. Anything I can do in the future, please let me know, okay?
Thank you. And we appreciate everything you do and help us getting the word out.
Of course. Anytime. So we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us. A little bonus behind the scenes there for a little extra time. I saw that break was going to be a little short, so that's why I came back with no music. But we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street. Thank you again to Nicole Dabby and Dan Arnold for being on the program. As you can tell, I pre-recorded that last week at some point, but I'm really glad that they could be on the program. So I mentioned earlier that Biden's advisors and the campaign people are not very happy with Governor Gavin Newsom. They believe that his debate has too much risk, his debate with Ron DeSantis. California Governor Gavin Newsom is increasingly being viewed as a nuisance to some of President Biden's political advisors, according to 4 people familiar with the matter. Obviously, he wants to run. I think he's trying to find a scenario where if Biden decides not to run for re-election, he can step in. Though Biden's camp no longer sees Newsom as a wannabe challenger, and some in Biden's orbit praise him for acting as a top campaign surrogate, Newsom's plan to debate Ron DeSantis on television carries more risks than potential reward, the people in the know say. That has caused consternation within Biden's operation and among specifically Vice President Kamala Harris. This is coming from NBC News. Some Biden advisors have complained privately that the planned debate, which will be on Fox News with Sean Hannity as the moderator, would make voters think Newsom is running a shadow 2024 campaign at a time when most Democrats say they prefer a different candidate at the top of the ticket, different than Joe Biden. They also argue that it would elevate DeSantis, whom White House advisors initially perceived as a greater threat to Biden's re-election hopes than former President Trump. Others have insisted that there is no harm in their debating and that, in fact, it could be a net positive. Harris allies take particular umbrage, wow, I don't hear that very often, at what they see as Newsom's attempt to position himself for the 2028 Democratic presidential primary at her expense. Yeah, a kind of competition to Harris. I can't imagine. You would really have to be in Harris's bubble to think that she could successfully run for president, but that's what they believe, and that's why they're upset at Newsom. It's disrespectful, said an activist for the Harris campaign. Joe Biden is running with Kamala Harris. That's the Democrat ticket. It's not clear yet that the debate will actually go forward. The two camps have been haggling over proposed rules since DeSantis accepted Newsom's standing challenge this month. But the specter of the two governors going head-to-head has highlighted the degree to which Biden's interests aren't always clear and can diverge from Harris's interest. Well, I'm telling you, I would love to see that debate. Don't get me wrong. But Harris's people and Biden's people not too happy with Gavin Newsom. Maybe he's outkicked his coverage. He's gotten a little bit too big for his own good. At first, he was kind of looked at as a challenger to Biden in a way. Then he was embraced as a campaign surrogate. And now a nuisance, close to his name, I almost said nuisance to the Biden-Harris ticket. We've got to take another short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be right back. Thank you again for joining us here on Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Please reach out at any point. Contact me. What do you think? Gavin Newsom, a headache to the Biden campaign, specifically to Harris? Well, how about this? This is going to pique your interest, I think. Many of you saw Bernie Sanders as someone that was going to really give Trump a run for his money. But then, even with the huge crowds he was packing in, we know the fix was in the primary. Hillary Clinton was going to win that no matter what. But, of course, he ran again. And now, why Bernie Sanders is back in New Hampshire on Saturday. Longtime progressive champion Senator Bernie Sanders returns to New Hampshire. He actually did on Saturday. A trip that's sure to generate plenty of political buzz ahead of next year's presidential primary. Boy, that'd be interesting if he ran again, wouldn't it? Maybe he could get on that ticket with Cornel West. That's Green Party, though. Bernie will deliver a speech entitled "The Agenda America Needs" at a college there in New Hampshire. The senator highlighted a concrete agenda which speaks to the needs of a long neglected working class. Sanders, who won the 2016 and 2020 Democratic presidential primaries and the longtime first in the nation primary state, will deliver his speech at the Institute, which for over 2 decades has been a must-stop for White House hopefuls, and his latest trip to New Hampshire is sparking speculation. Yeah, that would be interesting. Man, that would really shake things up, wouldn't it? If Bernie was back, we'll have to see. Keep an eye on that. Well, if nothing else, he must like that kind of buzz around him, because why else would you go to New Hampshire to give that speech? Yeah, he did win New Hampshire both times around, so maybe we'll see another Bernie Sanders primary, packing arenas. He did get huge crowds. You cannot deny that. He is very well liked by far left, and I've said this numerous times. I'm always curious if they would have let the primary really play out the way it was meant to and not fix the system, if he could have defeated Donald Trump. I mean, they were both very similar in their rally sizes. Just something interesting to think about. I've got to take another short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us. We are back with Frankly Speaking. Thank you to those who reached out. I'm not sure why our audio cut out for just a little bit, but I appreciate you letting me know. I'll try to keep an eye on that. As always, you can contact me if there's any technical issues. I'm watching it kind of from a different outlet than you are. You're seeing it right on broadcast TV. So that would be helpful if you ever see any technical issues. It looks like we are back with audio, though. So please reach out to me, and thank you to everyone who did earlier. So Kevin McCarthy says that Democrats are very concerned about a possible Biden impeachment. He was on Sunday Morning Futures on Fox. He said, "We did not know about the whistleblowers coming forth. We did not know all these times that the president lied to the American public. Each step we take contradicts what the Bidens have said before. Could you imagine being a sitting vice president and your family's members set up 20 shell companies? They don't. American companies don't do that. And then they deal with foreign countries that you have got 16 of 17 payments from Romania while you're vice president. And then we have the vice president, now president, claiming that he utilized American tax dollars to withhold from Ukraine to get a prosecutor fired." He did brag about that in the past. Continuing, this is Speaker Kevin McCarthy. "We just recently found out during break from a business partner with Hunter Biden that they were being pressured when they were on the board to try to do something about the prosecutor. So there's a lot of questions still. And to be able to get the answers to these questions, you would need an impeachment inquiry to empower Congress, Republicans, and Democrats to be able to get the answers that the American people deserve to know. I have had Democrats now tell me they're very concerned because they back the president based upon what he told America. And with each turn, we find that is not true. So that's Kevin McCarthy from over the weekend. Democrats very concerned about a Biden impeachment. We're going to talk about the mugshot. That was our big topic on Friday's program. We're going to talk about that, what that meant for former President Trump here in just a little bit. But let's play a little bit of catch up and take another break. And then we'll be back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us. We are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Tomorrow is fight morning on the program. There's some MMA fights coming to our area at the L. We're going to be talking with Luke Kelly and Chase Bailey. They'll be facing each other on Saturday, so we'll have a little fun with them, see about their career, what they think about Saturday's fight. It is for a championship belt, so I look forward to talking with both those guys. That's on tomorrow's program, so make sure you tune in right at 7. We're going to start right at 7 with Luke Kelly, and then a little bit later on we'll be talking with Chase Bailey on the program. All right, let's talk about what was the number one issue last week. So much discussion, so much laser-like focus on the mugshot of former President Trump. Look at this, and you could have predicted this, folks. I didn't know the exact amount, but you knew it would be a bonanza for the former president. $7 million they've made off of that mugshot already. Former President Donald Trump's mugshot and booking at the Fulton County Jail helped drive a $7.1 million fundraising bonanza. The Trump campaign wasted no time capitalizing on it, as we mentioned on the program Friday, showing you some of the merchandise that they were selling: mugs, shirts, bumper stickers, anywhere from $12 to $34. On Friday alone, the campaign pulled in $4.18 million, making it the most lucrative day so far. Politico was the first to report on these findings. We know that it helped, too. And the former president went to Twitter, or now X, for the first time in, I think, 2 years to share that link. $7 million, like he said at his recent rally. And we talked about it with the former Congressman Joe Sempolinski. He's one indictment away from the White House. That's what he keeps saying. So you see a bonanza, $7 million off that mugshot. And I think many people had that feeling that that's exactly what would happen. We've got to take another short break. Do I? No, we're good for just a minute. GOP hopeful rips the prospect of a Harris presidency. This is Nikki Haley. Many people, I would say maybe more moderate, something like that, middle of the road people, really have embraced Nikki Haley, thinking that she had the best performance at the debate. I'd love to hear your thought on that. But as we predicted on this program, and I think it came true, as soon as that mugshot was released, no more talk about the debate. When's the last time you heard anything about the debate? Well, just about right after, and that's it. But she said that it should send a chill up every American spine if Harris were to be president. The former South Carolina governor, in her appearance, cautioned against electing former President Trump, who faces multiple indictments. You know that. Donald Trump is a friend of mine. It was an honor to serve in his administration and work on foreign policy with him. And I agree with a lot of his policies. But the fact is, I don't know if it's 4 or 5 or 6 or how many indictments it is now, but he's going to spend a lot of time in a courtroom and not a campaign trail. Yeah, we talked about this, though. You can't let that win, though. I mean, you can find other reasons not to support Trump, but the fact that he's got these court cases, who was it who said? It was a Republican, I can't think of his name, at the New York Post, said, yeah, I think this all stinks, but we got to move on from Trump. And I just think that's interesting to just throw your hands up, and Republicans are notorious at this, but throw their hands up and say, yeah, that was corrupt what you're doing, but it worked. Anyway, my concern is we cannot have Kamala Harris as president. We can't change this, or we can't chance this, excuse me. We have to make sure that we have a new generational leader that's going to bring in not only Republicans, but we're going to pull back the independents. We're going to bring back the suburban women. We're going to bring in Hispanics. We're going to bring in the Asian community. We have to make sure we win this, because the thought of Kamala Harris being president should send a chill up every American spine. So that's Nikki Haley, who, again, many people praising after her debate performance. All right, let's take another short break. Then we're going to start wrapping things up here on Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us. And we are back. Boy, the show went fast. It always does when you're having so much fun here. I wanted to mention the Congressman, Nick Langworthy. He sent us a press release. Over $600,000 in grants for first responders. The first responders are in Erie, Cattaraugus, and Chemung counties, totaling $612,000 in total. I'm pleased to announce several FEMA grants to bolster our local firefighting operations and enhance safety measures. These grants will provide crucial resources for advanced equipment, essential training programs, and strengthen our first responders' ability to respond effectively to emergencies. We must support local first responders who stand ready to serve when we need them the most, especially in times of crisis. And for Chemung, our friends in Chemung, Van Etten Community Fire Rescue will receive a grant of $47,153.33 for good measure. All right, wow, this show did go fast. I know I said it, but I can't believe I had so many other things to talk about. Stefanik plans a $100 million campaign push in New York. This coming from Politico. The number 3 House Republican says she convinced her party to flood key swing districts in New York with $100 million in campaign cash. She brought Speaker Kevin McCarthy to the Hamptons for a previously unreported fundraiser with deep-pocketed donors and lawmakers, and she shared a sprawling digital database of contributors with the state GOP. Nearly a year after Republicans flipped 3 battleground House seats in the Hudson Valley and on Long Island, Stefanik insists she has a plan that will allow the party to hold off a Democrat offensive. Control of Congress may depend on her success, not to mention her political future. Well, that is it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank Dan Arnold, the Director of Veterans Engagement at the Veterans One Stop Center in Buffalo, and Nicole Dabby, Steuben County's one-stop peer-to-peer specialist. I appreciate them being on the program. Again, on tomorrow's show, we'll be talking with Luke Kelly and Chase Bally. They'll be fighting at the L on Saturday. That's MMA, if you like MMA. MMA fights. Luke Kelly and Chase Bally, both facing each other. Well, they're going to face each other kind of first, right here with the tough questions on Frankly Speaking. So one last time, I'm going to put my contact information up. If there's anything I missed, anything you'd like to comment on, please go ahead and reach out to me and join us tomorrow morning, starting at 7 a.m. for Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. Folks, have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already.